It's June the 19th and I'm here with some friends. We are at Fort St. James. And so if you've always wondered what the fur trading business was like in Canada, then this is the place to be. So come along as we explore. A signature of Canada's parks is a pair of red Adirondack chairs placed precisely with the best view in mind. So we just had to sit in these chairs in this national park. And now off to the chicken races.
So what we're going to do for you today, we're going to give you 3 races. And on the boards over there, you can see the names of the birds. In black is their lane numbers, and in blue is the odds we're prepared to offer you today. Because we record the results of every race, so we know who is a fast chicken, and we know who ultimately will become a slow cooked chicken. Shadowfax, Attila, Shadowfax, Attila, and Burmese. Shadowfax, Attila, and Burmese. Right, so here's Burmese for you. Right. Here's Attila and for you.
So we have to win all 3 and then they get 23.
Oh, every race is a separate bet. Basically, the odds are separate for each one.
Thank
So,
you.
Chicken Racing Speedway. As you can see, we've spent almost $10 on this amazing racetrack. Are you ready? Yeah! All right then, we'll begin our first race. Here's the race. Two, 4, 1.
Chicken races. I'm so excited.
Fort St. James National Historic Site is home to the largest group of original log buildings representing the fur trade in Canada. Long before Alexander Mackenzie traveled west of the Rocky Mountains in search of a navigable route to the Pacific Ocean, the Nack-Adsley had their home here. Part of the Decal or carrier people, the Nack-Adsley Nation depended mainly on salmon for sustenance over the long winters. It was in their territory that Simon Fraser built the first trading post, Stuart Lake Outpost, in 1806. The post formed an important part of the Northwest Company's expansion west of the Rocky Mountains. Simon Fraser, John Stuart, and those that accompanied them found this area rich in all kinds of fur-bearing animals. Once established, the post became an important trading place for the Decal. Stuart Lake Outpost was renamed Fort St. James in 1821 with the amalgamation of the Northwest Company and the Hudson's Bay Company. What you see is the 4th building phase of the fort in its original location. As a place for trade, the post was alive and active until 1952. I am headed to the general warehouse and fur store. The warehouse sheltered or accommodated the trade goods for Fort St. James and the surrounding outposts. Furs were stored in this building where they were baled for their journey to Victoria. The warehouse is one of the finest surviving examples of a Red River frame fur trade building in Canada.
Ooh, you even got the blood coming out.
Actually, that's paint from way back in the day. This is actually our most original building on site.
Is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
nice.
this was here well before the rest of it was built.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And some of them, like the trade store was reconstructed, but this is the original structure from the 1800s.
Okay.
Yeah. So we suspect someone might have tried to paint a canoe in here during the winter.
Is that right?
I'm not sure what
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
It does mimic blood,
I
though.
know, especially this one that just trails over where the animals are hung up.
That's perfect.
Welcome to the garden. Yeah, and this actually was the fur warehouse, so though all these goods are here, it actually would have been just furs. But this is an example of what would have been in a separate warehouse where all the goods were kept, also upstairs in the trade store.
Okay. Kind of dark over there.
Is there anything specific you're interested in from the fur trade era?
So what all could you buy with a pallet of furs? Did it go very far? Did you have to have a lot of furs?
It depends on what you had. So all these furs had different values,
Oh,
and that
okay.
changed depending on the year. Kind of like how different currencies change
Oh,
nowadays.
okay.
The made beaver was the standard currency,
Was
and
it?
so
Okay.
made beaver is actually one of these guys here. And all that meant was that it's a winter beaver that's properly skinned and tanned, and
Yeah.
stretched out in this circle so they could make the hats. So everything was compared to this.
Oh, this is a hat.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
So those silver fox, that dark gray fox there,
Yeah.
that could be worth 50 of these.
Oh,
'Cause they're so rare.
see.
Whereas things like a mink, you might need 20 to make one made beaver.
Really?
It really depended on what was in demand for the year.
Okay. And what did people make their coats out of? Bear, I guess.
Everything, really.
Yeah.
And of course, the First Nations people, before the Europeans came, when they made clothes out of the skins, it was actually fur side in and the skin side out because it
Oh.
was the insulation, right?
Yeah.
I was told that the lynx here was used for ladies' coats.
Oh, yeah.
Mink, you've heard of mink coats, of course. So
Yeah.
lots and lots of these into one long coat.
Okay.
Other animals were used more for the trim. Like a fox could go around the neckline. And I think it was in the 20s or the 1910s, I can't remember which, but someone that was quite famous, a little starlet type person, was seen wearing a silver fox around because it showed up better on black and white
Oh, yeah.
in pictures and film later on.
Oh,
So that became quite popular because of that. The bear pelt was actually used for the tall guard hats at Buckingham Palace. Even still is today, that's bear fur.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that would be valued for that.
And what is this long one?
The big, really big one here?
Yeah.
That's a timber wolf.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So I don't know if you'd necessarily want a coat out of it. It's quite coarse, but
Yeah.
maybe.
Oh, you're amazing. What are these little dried up
That's
things?
beaver castor, so the scent gland inside a beaver's body,
Oh, yeah.
and used for many, many different purposes. Trapping. It was actually used in Chanel No. 5 for a time because it's very potent. Once you have it in an oil, we actually have a jar of it there.
Oh, yeah.
And so it would carry the smell out that you added to it longer.
Oh, okay.
Hmm. Some people
Nice.
used it in medicines, things like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So fun.
It smells very musky and earthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, this is so cool.
Thanks. Yeah.
And even squirrel, they made
And
use
even
of.
squirrel. Yeah, so you would have to catch a lot of squirrel,
I
but
guess
people would
so.
eat it, and it's very actually soft, so you can see.
Oh,
It's one of the softest
yeah.
pelts.
Really?
Yeah.
They sure are.
Mm-hmm. And I guess people might use it for
Oh,
the
yeah.
collars, the
Yeah.
trim, or if you wanted to put enough of them together, I'm sure you could get a coat out of it.
Yeah, right. For a child, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, thank you. What are all these up here?
That's all muskrat, yeah.
Yeah.
So the RCMP actually still use that for their winter hats. They have
Wow.
artificial fur ones, but they also still have the real fur.
Do they?
Mhm.
Aw. And then what's back here?
Back here
More
is
bear?
more bear, and then there's a few different types. So we have our black bear, and brown bear is just a black bear that's brown.
Okay.
And I was told that we have a baby grizzly, but I'm not sure if this is actually what it is.
Oh.
So they're quite light when they're young, which is probably why they suspect
Oh,
that that's what this is. And it's quite
Of
small.
course, yeah.
Yeah.
Aw.
And all these furs were brought to us in the 70s when
Is
the
that
restoration
right?
happened. Yeah.
And they're hanging in there good.
Mm-hmm. Because if you properly tan and skin a hide,
Yeah.
it lasts forever, just like a fur coat.
Oh. Lots of wolves or coyotes.
This is actually lynx.
Lynx.
Yeah, all the different sizes of lynx.
Oh.
You can tell because they have the big padding on
Oh,
their toes.
yeah.
Those natural snowshoes. We, of course, need these contraptions over here to walk on snow.
Yeah.
But these guys are almost silent. I watched a video of a lynx hunting actually a rabbit. It's amazing how they glide across the snow.
Yeah. My cat can sneak up on me and I don't have a clue.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much.
No
This
problem.
is amazing.
If you have any other questions, let me know.
I will. I appreciate it. It's a massive bear pallets. I brought my friend. Oh, what are you doing?
This is a bear skull from the girl that's working on the bear hide, and I'm just
Oh,
drawing on it.
this girl is so amazing. Who knew that drawing on a skull is an art form? That's awesome.
I did it with a wolf skull that I was given last year, and then this year I was given a bear skull. So
That is, you are talented.
thank you.
I want to show some furs here. Can you see yourself wearing a fur?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're fabulous.
Have any of you worn any fur coats or clothings or hats? Let me know in the comments.
Now it's off to the fish cache. Dried salmon and bacon were stored here for company employees and the carrier people. An adaptation of the traditional carrier fish cache, the building is raised by 4 corner elevated posts to deter predators.
I don't think we particularly need to see what is inside this building. No thanks.
Next, it was off to the Min's House, which was a residence for company employees, pack train hands, boat crews, and visitors. The building also served as an early schoolhouse and as a private residence in the 1930s and 40s.
3 rooms in this building,
Okay.
and during the 1800s, there was 4 men staying in here.
4 men in this room?
No, in this building.
Oh, okay.
So this was the place where the workers stayed.
Okay.
The guys that worked here regularly. And as you can imagine, it would have been quite dirty, quite smelly.
For sure.
You know, 4 guys working hard, sweating every day, and no bathroom, no showers. Can you even imagine it? I can't.
No, that'd be awful.
Worse than that, let me tell you what it was like about this time of the year, when things started to warm up here.
Yeah.
It started to get hot. And eventually the men couldn't stand it any longer. Guess what they had to do?
Jump in the lake.
They had to take their long underwear off that they'd been wearing all winter.
Yeah.
And they had to get it off. They needed the assistance of one of their friends.
I see.
Can you even imagine why?
It was stiff?
No, worse than that.
What?
Over the winter, their hair had grown into the wool.
No way.
And it was like a mat. They couldn't get it off. Their friend had to cut it off with a knife.
Oh, that's
Can
disgusting.
you imagine what that underwear smelled like?
Oh.
Huh?
I think going a week without showering is bad.
Well, this is the whole winter. And they're working hard. They're sweating. So, you know.
So no ladies allowed in here then?
Well, they were allowed, but who would come in here? What lady
Exactly.
would come in here? None.
Exactly.
They wouldn't set foot in this place because the men, of course, didn't clean. They didn't tidy up. There would be food everywhere.
Oh,
And,
I bet there was rats in here.
yeah, I would imagine so. Yes, you're probably right. Yeah. But this was also a wayside inn. This was the hotel for the area.
Oh, I see.
All the people that were traveling in this area were welcome to stay here overnight, and it was absolutely free. They didn't
Oh.
have to pay.
Okay.
So this would include all the crews that were working on the survey crews, the telegraph crews, the railway crews,
Wow.
the excuse me, the miners that were coming and going, the gold seekers. This would include the traveling judge when he would come through the area.
Oh.
This would include the traveling teacher would stay overnight here. The traveling doctor would come and stay overnight
Those
here.
poor people that had to stay here.
The RCMP, when they were on their patrols, would come and stay here.
With the smelly men, they had to.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
And the one more smelly man would be the fur trappers
Oh,
that
yeah.
would come down out of the north with their furs and trade them here at the store. They, of course, excuse me, would be in there all day trading. By then it was too dark to go back home, so they would stay here that night and get up early in the morning, have their bacon and eggs, and then go back.
I see.
So there would be a 5th smelly man.
Ah.
Yeah, it was
Very
quite a time.
interesting.
Only your imagination can even have a clue what
Yeah.
it was like here in those days. you had to be a really rugged individual. This
And-
was not for the faint of heart.
And that was the early 1800s?
Well, this particular fort was built in 1883. Now there was 3 previous forts here.
Oh, the whole St. James.
Yeah, they
fort was
started
eight.
in 1806 when Simon Fraser came here. He built the first fort, which was across the lake on the other side.
Yeah.
And then they slowly moved around the lake and up this way, and they built 4 forts here.
Okay.
So this little building was built in 1884.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
Now it's off to the trade store. This was the commercial center of the post where furs were traded for many goods displayed inside. The building also served as the first post office in the area until fire destroyed it in 1919. The building that stands today is an authentic reconstruction to the 1896 period.
This is called hardtack, like crackers, 2 for 5 cents. They have holes in them because they would be traveling, and these would come, it would take a long time. So the holes worked very well because these would often have weevils or bugs. So before you eat your cracker, make sure you tap it on the counter. All the bugs fall out of the holes and you can eat your cracker. They're as hard as rocks though, so I would think you'd have to dip them.
Next, it was off to the officer's dwelling house. This house was the residence for the factor in charge of the post. Although it underwent many changes over the years, it has been restored to the period of A.C. Murray's occupancy in 1896. And as a point of interest, you may actually rent this space and stay the night. So tell me, how many of you would be willing to do that?
Anyhow, welcome to the officer's dwelling house. Okay, so this would have been actually the residence of the officer in charge of the post in 1896. That was Mr. and Mrs. Murray, their baby Annie, and their cook Paul. Okay, so as you know, all of it was established in 1806, right? And we're representing 1896. That's when the main fur trade was happening here in Fort St. James. Okay, and this park actually got open to the public in 1977. Right. That's when they got it open to the public, right? Okay. Yeah, so
Next, it was off to an Aboriginal woman who was demonstrating the process of tanning furs. She was presently doing a bear hide, although she demonstrated different techniques with different furs for us. She had bear brains boiling because that helps in the tanning process. It was a fascinating experience to be there.
But I skinned them. It took me about 5 minutes to skin them.
Yeah.
And no holes, except for what's that. Yeah. It's against the piece of wood, and then. Cool. And you take any flesh that's on him off.
Okay, well, after watching that, we decided to eat at the Commemoration Cafe. I had the best vegetarian chili that no fur trader would ever eat. Brian had the beef sandwich, and Anita had the real chili. She said it was very spicy but good. I was able to pay for some of my meal with the chicken bucks that I earned, which was a real blessing, and the chili was so delicious. It had just the right amount of spice, and I loved it. The fort has a nice visitor center along with a gift shop that had some interesting things in there, so you might want to bring your money.
Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Assalamu alaikum, shalom, peace.